The sky had lost its familiar hue. What was once a bright blue expanse was now a deep shade of crimson, painted with streaks of violet lightning that cracked through the air with an eerie resonance. The transformation of Earth had begun a decade ago when the first xenomorph hive was discovered in the ruins of New York City. No one knew how they got there, but their presence was undeniable. The city had fallen silent, its skyscrapers wrapped in a sickly black resin, pulsating like a living organism. Dr. Helena Carter had seen the first wave of destruction firsthand. She had been a researcher at the Global Biodiversity Institute, working on extraterrestrial microbial studies. When the distress signals from the city had ceased, she was among the first to volunteer for an investigative mission. What they found was beyond comprehension. Streets littered with human husks, their bodies split open as if something had erupted from within. The xenomorphs had not just invaded. They had embedded themselves into the very fabric of Earth's evolution. The remaining human population had retreated into underground sanctuaries, sprawling networks of tunnels and reinforced bunkers. The surface was no longer safe. The xenomorphs had adapted quickly, their hives spreading like wildfire across continents. Governments collapsed, communication networks crumbled, and those who survived the initial onslaught became either prey or hosts. Helena's sanctuary was deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a place called Outpost Echelon. It was one of the last scientific strongholds where researchers worked tirelessly to develop a countermeasure. The problem was that xenomorph biology defied everything they knew. Their exoskeletons were impervious to conventional weaponry, and their acidic blood made close combat suicidal. Worse still, they exhibited a hive intelligence, responding to threats with coordinated efficiency. She sat in the dimly lit laboratory, staring at a vial containing a fragment of xenomorph DNA. The solution shimmered under the fluorescent light, an unnerving testament to the alien nature of these creatures. General Marcus Reynolds, the leader of Outpost Echelon, entered the lab, his face lined with exhaustion. "We lost another squad near the Midwest perimeter," he said, his voice heavy. "They're evolving again." Helena nodded, already expecting this. Their genetic structure is in a constant state of adaptation. We've seen it before. We need something more than just weapons. We need to change the way we fight. Reynolds exhaled sharply. "And you think your biological approach will work?" "It has to." Helena held up a second vial, this one containing a genetically engineered virus designed to target xenomorph neural pathways. "This could be our only chance." The plan was simple in theory but nearly impossible in execution. Release the pathogen into the hive's central chamber, disrupt their communication, and collapse their structure from within. But getting close enough to do so was the challenge. A team was assembled. Helena, Reynolds, and 5 elite operatives who had survived countless engagements with the xenomorphs. They would infiltrate a hive in what used to be Chicago, a sprawling network of tunnels now overrun by the creatures. The journey was perilous. Every step forward was met with the guttural hisses of unseen threats, the shadows alive with movement. They reached the heart of the hive, a vast chamber where the xenomorph queen resided. She was unlike anything they had seen before, towering, grotesquely elegant. Her elongated head adorned with ridges that pulsed like veins. Around her, thousands of eggs lay in waiting, their surfaces shifting as embryos within sensed the presence of potential hosts. Reynolds signaled the team to hold position as Helena prepared the viral dispersal unit. But something went wrong. One of the soldiers, a young recruit named Diaz, shifted his weight against the resin-coated floor, the soft squelch echoing through the cavernous space. The queen's head snapped toward them, her screech splitting the air. "Move!" Reynolds bellowed, opening fire as the xenomorphs descended upon them. Chaos erupted. Bullets tore through the air, some finding their marks but doing little to slow the onslaught. The Queen lunged, her massive claws swiping at Reynolds, who barely managed to dodge. Helena, clutching the dispersal unit, ran toward the central spawning pit, her breath coming in ragged gasps. If she could just activate the release mechanism. A sharp pain tore through her shoulder as a xenomorph's tail impaled her, lifting her off the ground. She screamed, the vial slipping from her grasp and shattering on the hive's core. A chain reaction ignited. The virus spread instantly, the Queen convulsing as her screams turned into an agonized shriek. The xenomorphs around them staggered, their movements erratic, their hive intelligence fracturing. Reynolds grabbed Helena as she collapsed, dragging her toward the extraction point. The hive was collapsing, the walls disintegrating into a blackened sludge. The team barely made it out before the entire structure imploded, the sounds of dying xenomorphs echoing through the ruined city. Back at Outpost Echelon, Helena awoke in the medical bay, her body wrapped in bandages. Reynolds sat beside her, his face weary but triumphant. "We did it," he said softly. "The virus worked. The hives are breaking down. We might have just won this war." Helena exhaled, relief washing over her. But as she closed her eyes, a lingering thought gnawed at her mind. The xenomorphs had always adapted. If they survived this, what would they become next? A week passed, and the reports from reconnaissance teams were promising. Xenomorph activity had declined significantly. Major cities that had once been breeding grounds were eerily silent. But Helena couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Then the first distress call came in. "Outpost Orion is under attack. They're different now, faster, stronger. We need immediate backup." The transmission cut out. Reynolds and Helena exchanged grim looks. The war wasn't over. It had only entered a new phase. Helena stood, her body still weak but her resolve stronger than ever. "We need to see what we're up against." Reynolds nodded. "Get your gear. We leave at dawn." The battle for Earth was far from over. The xenomorphs had adapted once more, and this time humanity had no idea what it was facing.